There comes a time in our career where we phase out of doing everything by ourselves, and moving forward, we want to work with a complete team. This music video was low-key that point for me. Let me preface everything else that I'm about to say in this video with this. Regardless of budget, if I like the concept, and especially if it's something that I haven't done before, it's hard for me to say no. And overall, I'm happy with the end results. It was just a pain for me to do by myself. So let's talk through it. This was a live performance music video, which means sound was recorded on the spot, which was the most difficult part about this shoot. All in all, we had about 6 takes, and we ended up using take 5 for the official track. Now, take 5 was the best vocally, but it wasn't the best take visually. But we'll talk more about that when we get to editing. Now, the cameras that I shot this on was the Sony a7S III and the Sony a7 IV. Primarily, the a7S III was my A cam, and it was on a slider using a 24-70. Camera B was the a7 IV. Mainly had that on sticks, a small tripod, and initially I had it on a 85. As the shoot continued to progress, the director wanted more movement, so then I put that camera on a gimbal with the 50mm, and I kind of roamed around the set as she was doing. I think around take 4 is when we decided we wanted to do that. So take 4 through 6 was gimbal and for B cam, and then take 1 through 3, it was just on a tripod the entire time. For lighting, we had an Aperture 600X, a 300X, and an Amaran 200X. The 200X had the spotlight attachment, which you see this slit of light on the wall. The 300X was in a softbox pointed directly at the artist, and the 600X was pointed into the ceiling for feel. If I could do lighting differently, I would have maybe one more light on the left-hand side, kind of where you see this lamp at, maybe pointing towards the artist to maybe kind of separate her from the background a little bit more than what she is. But then again, that's when more team members and help comes in to kind of help you see the floor a little bit better. This shoot was done in a half a day, 4.5 hours, I believe. And that was in and out from load in to load out. We were able to accomplish everything within that 4-hour time frame. Now, when it comes to editing, we determined take 5 was the best take. Now, when you get everything back to your computer and everything's in front of you, and I know that take 5 is my best take, the sound engineer was able to send me the master track. I put that on the timeline first, right? I put take 5, camera A and B on the timeline with that, and I synced everything together. Now, take 5, A cam, it was pretty decent, right? But then take 5 on B cam, remember I was on the gimbal, so I was in and out throughout that entire take. So A cam, you're gonna see a lot of me in the frame, right? So I can go back and forth, but then on B, I'm on the gimbal. So every shot is not necessarily a good shot because I'm kind of roaming around and I'm not necessarily being stable all the time. I'm trying to get each individual instrument, each individual musician in the frame and compose them how they need to be. So everything's not going to be smooth. Everything's not going to be great. So when I can't use B and I can't use A, then where does that leave me? It low-key leaves me in a tough spot, but thankfully I had great shots throughout the other takes that I was able to use. But that's also tough because during a live performance, the artist is not going to do the same thing she did in take 5 as she did in take 1. So if I had a great take 1, right, and I know that's the take that I want to use, I have some fire shots in there that I for sure want to go in the final edit. Well, if she sings a different ad-lib, then I can't use that particular moment. Or if she does this motion, or she switches up this lyric, then I can't use that particular clip, right? So that probably was I would say that was probably the toughest part of editing this entire thing, because it's live and it's hard to take certain clips from certain takes and try to fit it into the final video when things are not necessarily going to match up all the time. And some of the takes were were great takes, right? And I can probably use them for my reel, but I couldn't use them in the final music video because they were just completely unusable because she did something off the cuff that didn't necessarily match with the official track. If I had to do this again, if I had to redo this, if I could rewrite the book, what I would definitely have is myself. Of course, I could probably still be the editor, but I would have 2 additional camera operators, a gaffer, and maybe grip or a PA, someone who can help the gaffer if needed. Maybe the camera operators could possibly help them if we just wanted to go like bare minimum and everybody getting their hands dirty, right? But those are like the bare minimum roles that I would have covered in order to complete this shoot successfully. Or not saying that it wasn't successful, because I think the end product was great, but on the day of, it would just make everyone's life a little easier, and it would make my life a little easier in the editing room, because if we decided that we wanted to go with take 5, right, then I know that I have operators manning B and C, and I know their shots should be somewhat great because they're on those cameras the entire time. And if something happens in the frame that's not necessarily acceptable or usable, then they will have the knowledge or the wherewithal to shift that angle to something that's more usable or something that's more acceptable. But yeah, you live and you learn. And when you know better, you do better. And in order to do better, you have to know better, right? So, peace.